Hey look, another Christopher Nolan film. Hey, it's RJ, and we're gonna discuss Christopher Nolan's latest movie, The Odyssey. Recently, before waiting for The Odyssey, I recently rewatched some of Christopher Nolan's films before it released, just for a little refresher of understanding his filmmaking style. I rewatched Oppenheimer, The Dark Knight, Inception, and for the first time, I watched Insomnia and Nolan's director debut, Following. Christopher Nolan holds a certain standard in his filmmaking style and how he creates visually ambitious, engaging, and gets a certain challenge when filming the films he makes along his career. The excitement when people hear that Nolan is releasing a film, regardless of what it is, brings people to the theater because of the name Christopher Nolan. He brings in such excitement that he sold the audience tickets one fucking year in advance before the film released, and he releases on IMAX 70mm, regular IMAX, regular 70mm, Dolby, and 35mm. The hype and standard that his fans get that almost every theater that isn't on standard is sold out, which got fans annoyed with Nolan that there aren't more theaters showing this on a bigger scale for what they want to see on screen. It's to the point that fans are complaining that they can't even see it on the actual format that Nolan made for it. It's kind of disingenuous knowing that this is Christopher Nolan and he's known for his scale. If anyone follows me on Instagram, I saw the movie for the first time, and for the first time on IMAX 70mm, and unfortunately my stupid ass got there 15 minutes early, and there were people in line and I got a bad seat. Besides me getting a bad seat, this movie looks beautiful for Nolan. To not make a movie that looks bad is kind of difficult for him to fall short in delivering breathtaking visuals. The scale, the wide shots, the movement with the cameras feels very close and gets in my face with the characters and what the characters are feeling when everyone's waiting for Odysseus. The production and set design of this film is really fucking cool. And how insane the things that Nolan did to have things on set and will fit everything in each frame of the film is kind of nuts. And Nolan is a type of director that just hates using CGI only when needed, but the practical effects and everything that was made handheld is so fucking well crafted. When I give my rating on the movie, people are gonna think my rating's crazy and I don't like the movie. And I like to say is that I do like this movie, but there are things that didn't sit right with me when I watched the movie. My biggest issue is the cast in this movie. The amount of high A-tier actors and actresses in this movie aren't needed that much for the screen time that they get from this film. I didn't like they get the proper spotlight for the screen time and very underutilized, and my expectation for them to lock in and put their full heart and soul into this film and not seeing them in their full abilities in this film kind of feel disappointed. Kind of like not seeing Zendaya, Mia Goth, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, Benny Safdie, Brown Bertha, and William Lee. Nolan with his resume can get anyone for anyone at this point because of his track record, but this movie doesn't work to have all these people in the movie for the screen time shown. Like Lupita legit gets 5 minutes of screen time in the whole film, just like John Bertha just limited screen time to this battle of Troy with Odysseus, and it talks with Telemachus about talking about Odysseus. A big issue I had since the trailer is the dialogue. The dialogue doesn't feel natural and just has castering their lines, and the words don't feel like they have weight to what they're saying. It didn't give me an emotional impact, and I kind of got distracted by the events in the story and didn't make the narrative feel as strong. Another issue mainly is the structure and the editing, which felt weird due to Oppenheimer being his most consistent film with a very narrow and not feeling very confusing. This film structure, pacing, and editing left me feeling confused, particularly during the first hour of the film. Christopher Nolan's trademark techniques and its very non-linear narrative and very frequent cross-cutting between different sequences, it fragmented the story in a way that it weakened my sense of its overall scale. During the introduction of Sinon demonstrating the Trojan horse, the camera rarely lingered on a shot for more than a few seconds before it cutting to something making conversations that should feel as thoughtful and engaging instead of come across as rushed and visually difficult to follow. I hate to bring in original source material, but for a story that's been out for over 3,000 years, it would have been better if it was just point A to point Z, not point Z to point B, back to point Z, back to point A, and then back to point Z. I never really have a real focus on what's going on in the story, and I wanted to focus on what happened on Troy, and on misjudgment, the wrath of gods, and mainly how reckless Odysseus of a leader is. This is not a major complaint I had, but it's a bigger complaint I had when I first watched Dunkirk, but due to how it's filmed 100% on IMAX cameras, this shit is loud as fuck. It's to the point they have to make a certain box around the cameras due to how loud it is, but the sound is loud in certain sectors, but in Dunkirk it's probably the worst. The IMAX cameras are so loud, it's to the point that the actors and actresses in the film were saying that it's so loud they had a hard time reading their lines. Biggest round of applause is Loa Gorison for the score in this movie, and it's the best of the year so far. We got 2.3, but we'll just have to wait till December. My favorite soundtrack from the score is when we see the armor of Ithaca and the Cyclops at the, and that soundtrack felt like pure horror. When we get to that certain segment happening and once it's over, I was actually for a split moment like, can Christopher Nolan's next film be that good if we get horror sequences like that? I was genuinely wondering if Nolan can really pull off a horror movie. Another scene that is perfect and for the music, which is when we see the witch feed the army of Ithaca and when she turns them into pigs, just felt like real horror, and which we don't really see from Nolan. And I want to really see Nolan whenever he makes his next film, which is horror, I hope really put in this type of effort and actual like tone and and setting for the horror that we see in this film. The performances in this movie are good, but the two that stand out are mainly Matt Damon and Robert Pattinson. Matt Damon, which in my opinion is my favorite and best performance, which I think is better than Good Will Hunting, which he goes deep but doesn't get the home run to finish the character he plays 100%. Matt Damon, feel like, even asked if he did a good performance, if Homer would ever ask him if he did a good performance. I feel like he read this and knew how to make Odessa stand tall when needed and make him fall when needed. He feels very vulnerable and yet feels very prideful of what he is in this movie. Robert Pattinson, my favorite working actors today, and he just has been killing it for the past years ever since Twilight, to the point that I even forget it exists, and he's brilliant in this movie. All around the cast is great, and yes, all around. While I haven't seen the other adaptations of Homer's Odyssey, this is better than Troy, which is funny because Nolan was supposed to direct Troy, and thankfully so, because if someone had the control Nolan had now, it would be as bad if not worse. This story is one of the best stories ever told and has been retold in so many films. You've probably seen that you didn't know is a retelling of it. By no means, this is not Nolan's weakest film, and there are others that don't hit the same from his line of work, since Nolan's one of my first works I love seeing on screen, and ever since he's done superhero, time travel, war, and biopics, it's kind of hard for him to not miss a certain subject. When I first heard back in 2024 that he was making this movie, I was like, what can Nolan not do? He's truly one of those filmmakers that can make a story lead conversation depending on the story, and overall make people even question, like, how does his brain like wrap around these certain ideas and certain decisions when making movies? This is a question that everyone's been asking other people and has asked me. Is this Nolan's best film? Not at all from me, but this is a good movie and I quite enjoy myself. And yeah, that's what I think about the Odyssey, guys. What did you guys think of the Odyssey? Let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of the film. But till then, see you guys in the next video, which might be Neon Genesis Evangelion, the end of Evangelion.